Hi everybody, this is SAAD. Last night I posted a tweet wherein I weighed in on Serena Williams's antics during yesterday's uh, U.S. Open's women's final between her and Naomi Osaka. So let me first read the tweet and then I'll say a few more things about that particular reality. But more importantly, I'll then discuss what transpired after I posted the tweet, because it really does speak to the dreadful zeitgeist that we currently find ourselves in. So here's the tweet. The petulant, self-entitled, narcissistic Serena Williams should publicly apologize to at Naomi Osaka, her Twitter handle, and to all kids who might have been watching today's final. Instead of graciously losing and granting Osaka her due moment, she asked without any class or decorum. Schmuck. Well, the way Serena Williams was truly reprehensible. It's difficult to put it in any other way. It was just grotesque. But in any case, of course, I've weighed in on bad behavior from all sorts of other people. When Neymar does his diving and acts like a prima donna, I weigh in on how ridiculous he is, and I do so without any concern of whether he has testicles or whether he has ovaries. I'm able to judge his behavior either as good or bad on the merits or faults of his behavior as an individual. Ili Nastase, who was if you remember, a former tennis player, I think he was Romanian, was famous for being outlandish in his antics. Of course, perhaps none more famously so than John McEnroe, who himself was oftentimes punished for acting like a utter buffoon. In this case, Serena Williams acted exactly as I said, like a petulant, self-entitled, narcissistic buffoon, and I was weighing in on it, as should happen in any free society. People have a right to express themselves, and as far as I know, Serena Williams hasn't achieved a deity status whereby it is blasphemous and illegal to criticize her. But it turns out that it is blasphemous and illegal to criticize her, because she's a black woman, and you do not criticize a strong black woman, even if you are a brown man of slight size who escaped execution in Lebanon. Apparently, I've always thought that way outranks Serena Williams in victimology poker. She's won, I just checked on Wikipedia, $88 million in her career in prize money. $88 million. In 2016, she earned $29 million in prize money and endorsement. She has the most Grand Slam titles in the Open era, second only, trailing I think by one, Margaret Court, across all eras. So this is not exactly someone who is lacking in privilege. She is the definition of privilege. If you took the 10, 20 most famous intellectuals in the world today, all of the research they do, all of the students they supervise, all of the books they've written, all of the issues that they weigh in, and added up all of their salaries, they wouldn't add up to a minuscule amount compared to what Serena Williams has earned. But bruh, she's the victim. So first thing to note is that it doesn't matter how privileged a person is. Apparently we determine their victimology score strictly on whether they have ovaries or not, and whether they have a darker or lighter skin hue. So that's number one. Number two, I learned that many of her fans are profoundly eloquent. So here are a few. There are many, many more of these. Let me just read you a few of the more enlightened ones. Hey, fuck you. Fuck you. You're a disgrace. Go fuck yourself. And many, many other ones. I was basically a Nazi who should go off and kill himself. Now imagine the psychological mindset of someone who is so removed from reality, who has such a broken moral compass, that a total random person they don't know, myself, weighing in on a public figure, a huge tennis star, an all-time great athlete who, regrettably, on this occasion, did act inappropriately. That could compel people to send me comments that you wouldn't otherwise levy to Hitler. But yet, this is what happens in today's reality. So the Twitter mob mobilized, and believe me, this is not boo-hoo-hoo, I'm a victim, not at all. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. I'm compelled to move forward in my work to dismantle this reality, to fight against the unbearable reality whereby millions of people are silenced because they're afraid that these Twitter mobs will come after them, right? Think about the number of professors who don't open their mouths because they're afraid that they might say something that might offend somebody and then their careers will be over. But it doesn't just have to be professors. People in all walks of life are afraid to open their mouths. So in this case, what happened is this Emily Kane Walker, her handle is at MZ or MZ in the US, you'd say Emily, EMILYCAIN, started tagging my university, to get me in trouble with my university, because somehow this person believes that my criticizing a tennis player for her cretin-like behavior during the game is sufficient ground to have me fired as a professor, right? And she feels emboldened. She feels she's in the right, right? And of course, once I don't back down, once I turn the tables against her, what does she do? She blocks me. Of course, this is hardly the first time this has happened to me. I weigh in on all sorts of things. But of course, again, nothing could be more banal than weighing in on the behavior of a tennis player, right? This person, Emily Kane, doesn't know this tennis player. I wasn't heckling her mom at her place of work. I was commenting about the dreadful behavior of a world-renowned tennis player, and that's it. It ends there. But she felt, hey, that's inappropriate, and you should lose your livelihood. Your children should go hungry. Your 25-year career as a professor, your 45-page CV as an academic should no longer matter because you criticized someone that I admire, and therefore you should pay for your job. And again, that person feels sufficiently compelled in her broken moral compass that she's in the right. Now, imagine if we now had laws whereby you become legally responsible, criminally responsible for targeting someone via their employer because you're trying to silence them. So again, here, this is what makes this case uniquely powerful is that it's not even a hot button issue. I mean, no issue is off the table in a free society, but this is not, we're discussing, immigration policies and whether we should have open border policy or not, which of course we should be allowed to discuss in a free society. This is me commenting about someone that Emily Kane, this execrable cretin, this enemy of reason, this intellectual terrorist, doesn't know. It's just somebody that she idolizes, and my criticizing her makes me someone who should lose his job for it. Now, I happen to be someone who is more than happy to fight for these issues. I do have a sufficiently large platform that it's difficult to come after me. But imagine the young person who doesn't have a strong sense of self, the young person who doesn't have a large platform. Imagine how terrified they feel when the Twitter mob starts coming after them. I mean, people were writing to me, go kill yourself and all that, sort of compelling you to commit suicide. Well, obviously, I'm not going to commit suicide because the feces of my beloved dog who recently passed away is worth more than these cretins combined. I have a strong sense of self that nothing that they're going to say is ultimately going to affect my sense of self. But that's not true of some insecure person who's trying to forge their way in the world, offer an opinion, but then have they face the reality of a Twitter mob coming after them. This is not something that we should tolerate. And again, it is incumbent on each person to do whatever they can to alter this reality, to alter the zeitgeist. But in any case, I wanted to also mention the fact that this is a perfect manifestation of the soft bigotry of low expectations. This is not my term. I can't remember who's the first person to mention it, but it is an incredibly powerful concept that really captures the racism, the bigotry of those who play the identity politics games, right? Emily Kane feels that this enemy of reason who is trying to tag my university feels that I should not have the right to criticize Serena Williams because, you know, she has ovaries and I don't, because she has darker skin than me. Therefore, if John McEnroe behaves in a ridiculous manner, which he has on countless occasions, I'm old enough to have seen his stupidity in the past. If I were to criticize him, well, that's okay because his identity is white male. But if Serena Williams acts like a bullying, insulting cretin, as she did yesterday, stealing the moment from Naomi Osaka, oh, by the way, who is half Japanese and half Haitian, it wouldn't have been good had Naomi Osaka apparently been a white woman from Nebraska. But the fact that she is also a woman of, quote, color makes it a bit more difficult to argue that the umpire, you know, Carlos Ramos, was racist, because apparently he determines his racism based on the extent to which you are black. So given that Naomi Osaka is only half black, her father is Haitian, her mother is Japanese, he dishes out his racism accordingly. I mean, it is difficult to imagine a cancer of the human mind that is more insidious in removing one's dignity, right? All of these people that came after me, you know, were not high on acid. They all felt perfectly in the right that someone like me should never have the right, should never dare, should never, how galling it is that I would go after this victim, this black woman, this poor black woman who has been victimized in the US. I mean, $88 million. How does she get through life? It's unbelievable. So to go back to the soft bigotry of low expectations, this is where you set the bar lower for certain groups because, you know, bruh, skin you, right? Some of you might remember the case of that I've discussed before, where I had posted a clip of an Iraqi astronomer who was arguing that the Earth was flat because, you know, it says so in this place in the Quran and so on. And then a white woman, you know, who's engaging in collective Munchausen by proxy, decides to come after me in my personal Facebook page saying, well, you know, why are you going after these people? You know, these people meaning, I guess, Muslims, because she shouldn't be concerned as a fellow scientist that this idiot is saying that the earth is flat, but rather, why am I criticizing him when he's Muslim? So if he had been a white Christian male and said that the earth is flat, then I should have, of course, criticized him. But once he's an Iraqi Muslim, well, hey, come on, all bets are off. Truth takes a back seat. So same thing with Serena Williams. She acted like a buffoon. She has acted like a buffoon in the past. And then, by the way, after the fact, her trying to argue that she was fighting for women's rights, you know, my daughter, even it makes it more laughable. The right thing would have been to say, I'm sorry, I acted inappropriately, I was wrong, and that's it. Ended there. This wouldn't have excused the fact that she did act like a petulant, self-indulgent, self-entitled, narcissistic buffoon during the game, but at least she would have saved some grace. She tried to do her best to flip the script later on in the press conference, but the reality is she was a buffoon, and nothing can alter that. And people have a right to criticize her, despite the fact that she has ovaries and has dark skin. To not criticize her because she has ovaries and dark skin is the definition of sexism and racism. She should not be held to a different standard in comparison to other people. That's what treating everybody equally means, irrespective of their identities. Have a good day, everybody. If you don't weigh in, if you don't support those who are fighting on your behalf, you're part of the problem. Incidentally, let me just mention very quickly before I sign off, Rig Mehta, who was a professor at Acadia University, was recently fired because he has been very outspoken against the efforts to indigenize university curricula, and he's also been very critical of various talking points from feminism. And after a long battle, he's been fired from Acadia University. So there are many, many ways by which people can end up on the wrong side of the social justice warrior mob. And the quicker we redress the situation, the safer we will all be in a free society. Cheers, everybody.